It's Friday, and we're taking a peek inside my kitchen as I make homemade pizza. We are starting off with 1/4 cup of warm water, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 2 1/4 teaspoons of dry active yeast. I purchased mine at Costco. I keep it in a Ziploc bag in the freezer and pull it out as I need it. And then we're going to mix this all together and let it sit for 5 minutes. This recipe is from the Food Nanny. It is called Tuscan pizza dough, and the link that I used to use no longer works, so I will type all of the ingredients and how I make it down below so you can refer to it. So while the yeast and water is sitting for the 5 minutes, I took my KitchenAid mixer, put on the dough attachment, and I am going to measure out 3 cups of all-purpose flour. The recipe does say to use 3 to 4 cups. For me personally, I find 3 works, and then I use extra flour as I shape it and roll it out to make my pizzas. This is my yeast after 5 minutes. It's nice and foamy. You can see the bubbles. This is what you're looking for. And believe me, if you don't see this, you might as well skip trying to make homemade pizza because you're not going to really get any rise from your dough because your yeast probably is no longer any good. So I'm adding in 1 tablespoon of olive oil, mixing it up, and then we're moving back to the KitchenAid mixer. I'd also put a little bit of salt in with my flour. So I add in the yeast mixture and then 1 1/4 cups of water. And I'm going to let the KitchenAid mixer do the work. This is one of the things that I've kind of perfected over the years. I have mixed this by hand. You can if you want. I find the dough gets a little bit more tough whenever I do it by hand. So I just put the setting on for about medium and I let it work for about 5 minutes. And this is what it comes back to. I set the timer. It will stick a little bit at the bottom for me, but it is a nice dough. You could probably add a little bit more flour if you want, maybe 3 1/2 cups, but I find 3 works the best for me. It is a little bit sticky, so I just sprinkled a little bit of flour on here, and then I'm just going to kind of work it in just to make sure that it doesn't stick to everything. But I do find the 3 cups works for me, and then I use that 4th cup just as I need to mix everything up. So I am going to dirty up another bowl. I have a glass bowl, and I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom, and then I'm going to take that pizza dough. I'm just going to work it a little bit with my hands just to kind of get it into a nice shape, a nice ball. And you can see this is what you can do for the 5 minutes if you want to. But I find when I use my KitchenAid mixer, it's a really nice, light, soft dough. I do find if I do it any more than 5 minutes, it's just a little bit too tough and a little bit harder to work with. So I'm just going to take that ball and I'm going to roll it around in the olive oil because I don't want it to stick to the bowl as it rises. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my tea towel. I also have my oven set to bread proof. That is something else that I like to use. It just makes life a little bit easier. It's a nice warm place. My tea towel is going to go on top and then it is going to rest into the oven until I am ready to make a pizza. So there is the setting right there. Bread proof. It's just about 3 o'clock and we're going to let this sit for a couple of hours. Usually I would use my Rayo's marinara that I purchased at Costco for my pizza sauce, but today I want to try and make my own pizza sauce. I'll link the recipe that I use below as kind of a guideline for it, and I'll just explain what I didn't do and I probably would do next time. But I just have my cast iron Dutch oven with some olive oil. I just sliced up a white onion. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic here and also some salt. And I'm just going to cook this down a little bit. And that's one of the things I'm trying to do in 2024 is making more things from scratch, using, quality ingredients and just trying to get that flavor by different ways of cooking, whether it be on the stovetop or in the oven. I also added a can of San Marzano tomatoes. I've heard about these a lot on cooking shows and people use them for pizza sauces. It's just a plum tomato from Italy, but it's just known for its flavor and quality as a canning tomato. I'm also adding in some Italian seasoning, basil, parsley, oregano. I think if I did this again, I might use fresh herbs just to get a nicer flavor. So I let this boil for a little while. It smells really good. And the recipe said to bake it in the oven. but my pizza dough is proofing in here, and I think next time I'm going to give that a try. I think it would just enhance the flavor a little bit by roasting the tomatoes. So what I'm doing is just using my immersion blender to, you know, get rid of all of the lumps. I think the recipe said to use a blender. I just want to keep it really simple. I don't want to dirty any more pots than I need to. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this immersion blender to get the big clumps out of it and just have a nice kind of smooth sauce. It smells really delicious. So we're going to let this sit and cool down and use it for our pizza sauce tonight. I'm just doing a little prep. I have some pepperoni and mushrooms. Usually I would use green pepper, but I didn't have any. And then I just grated up some cheese too. This is the cheese I've been buying. I really like it. I get it when it's on sale, and I don't use a lot of cheese on my pizza. That's one of the things I don't love. I'd rather have a nice pizza dough and sauce and ingredients with just a little bit of cheese. So this is the first time that I'm actually looking at my pizza dough. And there it is. There's the sauce. It's a couple of hours later. The sauce smells really good. I'm really excited about this. So I'm going ahead and preheating my oven to 500 degrees. Now there is my pizza dough. I'm just going to punch it down, and then I'm just going to get my flour to start rolling it out. I'm going to divide this into two. Now I'm pretty sure in the past they said that this would make 3 thin crust pizzas. I've always done it as 2, and this is the part where I always have it a little bit more thin in the center, and then I find the edges get a little bit too thick. So I definitely feel like 3 pizzas would be really good for this. I just take my pizza pans, I spray it with cooking spray because they have stuck in the past, and then I just kind of make it work and fit in here. So there is my homemade pizza sauce. I was really, really excited about this, but honestly, the pepperoni that I have was really, really strong, and it kind of took away a little bit from the sauce. I was kind of disappointed it didn't have the flavor that I thought it was going to, but that might have been, I should have baked it and roasted the tomatoes. Or I'm also going to try some different types of pepperoni. And I think this would be really good as a margarita pizza and just have some fresh basil. So I'm going to play around with it a little bit, but this is how you learn. You know, maybe I didn't make the perfect sauce today, but that's okay. Don't, you know, get down on yourself or think that it's good enough, because you have to learn from your past little oopsies that you make in the kitchen. That's the only way that you're really going to learn. So we're moving on to the second pizza. It's definitely a little bit thinner, and then I always get too much of a crust, but that's okay. I'm going to perfect it a little bit. I think the next time I make it, I'm going to break it down into 3 and go from there and try freezing it too, so I could do more batch cooking and then use it as I need it. So we're going to experiment a little bit in 2024. And I also want to make sure that I kept enough sauce so I can use it next week too. And if I can perfect it, then I'll make a larger batch and freeze it, so I can only do this once a month instead of, like, you know, once a week. So anyways, I'm going to put the pizza into the oven for 10 minutes. No, 12 minutes is what I do. And then I'm going to check on it. I got everything cleaned up. My second pizza is ready to go. And then I put my pizza sauce in a container so I can freeze it. So I did check my pizza after 12 minutes. I felt like it needed a little bit more time. So I'm going to put it back in the oven and do it for another 2 minutes. So this is what it looked like after the 14 minutes. It's perfect. Just the right amount of cheese. It has like a nice thick, you know, pizza rim, but then the crust in the middle is nice and thin, so I'm very happy with it. My second pizza is in the oven, and I always let my pizza sit because it's easier to cut, and then when you pick it up, it's not kind of flopping all over the place. So I usually take my pizza and cut it into 8 slices, and I like to take it out of the pan and then just use my pizza cutter and use my putt cutting board and get 8 nice slices, and then I will show you how I pick it up, and it is just a perfect, nice, thin slice of pizza. There we go. I'm really excited about this. I'm going to experiment a little bit this year with some different flavors, but Friday night, we usually eat the one pizza, and then the second pizza we use for lunch on Saturdays and Sundays. And what's better than a homemade slice of pizza and a good cold Pepsi? So thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new, and we'll see you soon.